Welcome to Good Money Guide. Today we're joined by Gavin Williamson. He's the CEO of the Broker Club, which is an exclusive community or club for those within the brokerage community, particularly in capital markets. They look at all aspects of what's going on within the brokerage world from a professional perspective, from regulation to compliance to execution to what the future may hold. So we're going to have a chat with Gavin about what they do and who they do it for. Gavin, hi. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
It's a great opportunity, I think, to talk to brokers about the industry, the broker club, because the brokerage world, I think is very much a club anyway. It's quite a small world. Everybody knows each other, but there's a lot to be discussed, and quite often people don't get the chance to do it. So do you mind just quickly taking us through what the broker club is and who it's for?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Broker Club was formed 8 years ago, and it really sort of spotted a niche in the market whereby you had the big lobby groups, all of which were dominated by the big banks, the HSBCs and the JPs and those guys, and that sort of middle tier didn't really have any representation. So it was formed then, initially around really purely UK brokers, and purely around really regulatory issues, compliance issues, and sort of risk issues, and that was the core and the crux of where it came from. And I'll come back to that in a minute, of where we're sort of taking it to, and I want to take it to in the future as well. So as you rightly said in the introduction, it's an exclusive community of UK and European regulated firms. These firms join really for two reasons. The one reason is content and expertise and white papers that they get access to through the Broker Club, and the other half really is the community that they join. So, many times, certainly when it comes to regulation, the FCA and ESMA and people like that, they're not prescriptive. They're not going to write down exactly what if you do these three things, then you will be fine. They leave it really out there a little bit. So for you to have the opportunity to sit in a room in a trusted environment with your oppo from a risk perspective or compliance or reg, and just say, hey, what are you doing on this, or what's your top agenda, what keeps you awake at night, just to have those conversations over a coffee or a drink after the event is as important as the actual sort of factual content that we're providing into the community. And we do that for two ways. So we have the regulated community on one side of the fence, and then on the other side of the fence we have our partnership program. And the partnership program really is people that we think regulated firms want to talk to. So people like the FCA and LSEG and ESMA and CBOE and those sort of people. And then really within the product space, people who are interesting to them to see about innovation, AI, cybersecurity being a big one. So people like Google and AWS are in the partnership program. And then really on the consultancy level, the people are out there, in the market, talking to people, finding out what's trending, people like PwC and Deloitte. So you have the partnership program that providing into the regulated community that we've set up.
And what sort of events do you put on for the club?
So there's really sort of tiered events. So the foundation, as I call it, is the roundtables that we run for these communities within a community. So you've got the overall Broker Club community, and inside that you've got, like you say, that you've got operational risk or financial risk or reg, technology, sales, trading, legal. So they create their own little communities in there. And once a week we run a roundtable for one of those communities. So we ran one last week for liquidity. We've got one today for the digital asset community, and each of those communities work within the overall umbrella of the Broker Club. We limit the events, or the roundtables rather, to 15, 20 people max. Otherwise, you lose that little bit of interaction. A number of these people, albeit sometimes with different firms, have known each other for years through the Broker Club. So they're very open, and their comments are open in that sense. They don't have to hide behind any of the sort of the walls that you have in the bigger organisations, and they really trust each other to comment openly about what is on their plate. But the other thing is that they kind of know some of the people that are presenting as well. So you end up with this roundtable at this foundation event that covers everything, and you get open opinion. The other events, kind of the step up there, is we really do for members only, because we do invite prospects into our foundation events. For the members only is when so last week we had the FCA come in to one of our members' offices, and we had 40 of our members in the office, and the FCA presented to them, and they wanted to get feedback from the regulated firms within capital markets in the UK and abroad, and then they created that environment. That's the second one we've done. So each one gets slowly better in the sense of the trust that's in the room and the openness that people will share. And then what we do is we moderate those events. And obviously, if brokers are have questions they'd rather ask through us, then we ask them through into the FCA. And I have to say, in that environment, the FCA were quite open about what they were planning and what they were doing, and some of the government agendas that we've all read about in the press. And then really, to bring all that together, we have our annual conference, which is all about the content that we're going to provide to our members that we've covered during the year, that we know is trending, we know they want to hear about, and we run that on a half-day event every year, and just bring the whole thing together in one big thing, and the whole community comes together to participate in that.
How many people usually turn up to the events?
The events on the foundation level, the round tables, we max out at 20, because otherwise, I say, you lose. It becomes a presentation.
So it's nice and intimate.
Exactly that. The bigger events, like the invitation-only events, for example, we've got another one coming up with LSEG in April. We'll do up to 40 firms for those events. And the conference itself, last year we had just shy of 200 attendees. We're talking 250 this year, because we've grown the membership. And we've expanded the membership actually into other areas, because guess what? Some of the issues that the brokers have sit within hedge funds, long onlys, wealth management, and family offices. So we've kind of extended the membership into what I would call any regulated firm that sits within the capital markets environment.
Okay. Have you seen much of an appetite for people outside of the brokerage world joining?
There is actually, and the reason for that is I mean, in the areas that are non-competitive, I guess is probably the part of the answer. So if it is, risk or compliance or reg, or to a degree technology or legal, then absolutely those communities, and they're happy to share their experiences and have those conversations, because they're kind of dealing with the same day-to-day issues as before. Obviously, once you move more into sales and trading and those sort of areas, then less so, which is fair enough. We're not looking to create any competitive. This is within the club. So yeah, in the areas that the core of the broker club started as, absolutely, there's read across into all of those different firms.
Okay. And how does one go about joining if there's a member firm out there that's not a member, they want to get involved? Is it an arduous process or relatively easy?
It's relatively easy. I mean, we do put events out there for people to try out, as it were. So they'll come along to some of those events, and we'll meet them. Some of the open events we do, open days, open events. Sally and I will then just really follow through on those. The membership itself is at a firm level. It's every year, obviously prorated for the year. You join in Jan and you renew, hopefully, the following Jan. And to be honest, the target market is to get as many of these communities involved as possible within each firm. So quite often it'll be one individual or one department, let's say, within a firm that's seen the broker club or been to an event and has reported back saying it was a good event. And then our role is really to then branch out into the other departments to get the whole firm engaged in what we're doing. And to be honest, once they've been to some of the events and seen the quality of the content, then it's not a difficult sell for us to follow through on.
That's good. Institutional customers are always sticky customers in the
yes, exactly.
in the world of brokerage. So you've been CEO now for a year and a bit, is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
A year and a bit. We interviewed Sally years ago when the broker club was just starting out. I think that must have been 6 or 7 years ago. That's on the site. Okay. If you want to see it. But let's just talk about you and how you got involved. So you're an industry vet. Without, it's often it's not a rude word. So just tell us about your history and your career so far.
So my background is with the big banks. So I did the big German bank at Deutsche Bank, and then I did the big Asian bank with HSBC. Worked out in Hong Kong for many years, and also with Citibank as well. So, and always in equities, always in equity trading. So final years at HSBC, I was the global COO for that equity business, which was fantastic. But also heavily involved in a lot of the growth within Asia and emerging markets that we were pursuing. Yeah, loved the career, loved working there. In the end, the 5 o'clock start in the morning was one too many for me. So I retired from HSBC in 2019, pretty much after they'd done MiFID II and some of the other issues that they had outstanding. And then kind of as with a lot of these things, decided what to do and when to do it. Sally and I had come across each other, as is the want in this industry. I used to be the co-chair of the fixed committee, so I did a lot of involvement in the events that they used to run and still run today. And actual fact, was the founder of the Fixed magazine as well, that they still run globally today. And I did enjoy organising events. So Sally and I did a sort of trial conference 3 years ago, whereby I sort of did the content and the sponsorship side, and Sally obviously with the Broker Club brought in the membership and the firms, etc. And it worked really well. The conference was excellent, and we worked well together. Enjoyed it. And then before I knew it, she's asking me to come and join her at the Broker Club and become the CEO, which in fairness, I'm very excited about.
Great. So in the year and a half you've been doing it, what's been your favorite event? Any highlights?
That's a good question. I have to be slightly biased because I love the conferences. I really do. And I think the way we've grown it obviously shows, shows the brand and the value of the brand. The sponsors that have repeated and supported us, every single year for 3 years, it is a big sign off for us. And just having the membership, it's a little bit like, the first one you kind of got to pick up the phone and call around and call some favors in and get some ex-colleagues or ex-clients along. Now we're in a position whereby people are coming to us and wanting to attend the conference. So I think the conference is the standout one for us, and we live or die by the content we provide in that conference and in the other events we run. I think as a standout one, we did a financial risk one in terms of liquidity just early in this year, actually. And we had, it was with one of our partner programs at PwC, and we had 20 firms in the room, senior people from, the head, the CFO to the COO and the COO in some cases. And every single one of those people was contributing in that room, and the interaction was great. Everyone was sharing stories of experiences, things like that. And we just sat there, and it was like, wow, okay, this is it right here. This is what we want the community to be like. And then everybody stayed afterwards, and everybody chatted, etc. So yeah, I think those two for me stand out.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I know the conference. I'm looking forward to the conference. We're coming to the conference. I think that'll be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that'll be a really good do. It's obviously focusing on the future of brokerage, which goes through waves and of change and non-change. I know the title's the future of brokerage, but do you just want to give us a little preface? What's your view on the future of brokerage? Do you think there's going to be any big changes on the horizon?
It's interesting because we've attended these conferences when I was at the banks, and one of the comments always every year is, well, it's the same thing they talk about every year. But the truth is, when I started, you picked up the telephone and that was the trade. And then I got lucky because I actually understood technology and was interested in technology. And so that whole movement into electronic trading and algorithms and direct market access, that was right in my sweet spot. So that was definitely that's a wave that I definitely rode through that process. And so that doesn't change. And I think if you look at it now, and I'm slightly biased because I'm an equity guy, but I did spend a fair bit of time with the FX and fixed income people in the last few years of my career. That whole push is just going to get more sophisticated. I mean, the fixed income obviously got a way to go, but more sophisticated. Less traders, more quants. That whole sort of thing. Clearly, AI is going to be a major player in there now. both in terms of the quality of the execution and the quality of the algos that you're going to run. I mean, I remember we hired back in 2011, 2012, we hired our first quant to come in and look at what we were doing. And within a month, he'd improved our performance by about 20%, just in 1 month, one guy looking at it, right? So that shows you how far you can go with some of this stuff. In terms of that's purely on the execution side, clearly in the post trade, there's an awful lot of improvement there. T+1 coming up, we've got a big T+1 event on Thursday, actually. That's going to change the dynamics, both in terms of the money available in the market to invest versus the money just tied up waiting to settle. It'll force people to survive, to be more efficient in what they do, and obviously clearly AI and things like that is something that comes with that. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're in the brokerage business now, that's the path you're going to head down. We do see the brokers that we sort of look after and we're close to, they're looking to do like almost a full service package. So and if it's not them, it's with a partner type thing. So where can they add value to their clients? Is it technology? Yeah, a lot of them got their own products, their own front ends, not just on the retail side, right? Where can they grow the prime side or internationally? How can they move? There's a lot of noise around Dubai, obviously, and places like that. So the beauty of the brokerage business, they're constantly on the move, looking for opportunities, both in terms of the trading, but also in terms of the client side. So I think for me, I'm slightly biased, but I say AI and tech is my bag. That's definitely where this is heading in terms of efficiencies and the quality of the execution you're going to get, both on the institutional side and actually on the retail side as well.
Okay. Well, I'll pick up on that Dubai thing just before we finish with a fun question. But so obviously you're a homegrown club, mainly focusing on the UK. There's a lot of chatter about people moving obviously over to the UAE because of shall we say, a slightly more relaxed regulatory landscape. Do you have any plans to take the broker club abroad to America or the UAE?
Yeah, I mean, we do. I think we touched on at the beginning the expansion across the regulated firms within the broker club, which is something we focused on last year. We did our first event in Dublin 2 weeks ago. Went over there and met with the financial community there. Went down really well. There's definitely a piece of the financial community that wants to be part of us there. We are doing some events with ESMA, so we're looking at the European angle, both for clients that we have in Cyprus, Italy, France, places like that. I mean, I ran trading in Hong Kong for 7 years. I'd love to do something in Asia. They keep asking us to go over there, which I'm happy to do. But we're looking at where we expand. Dubai and we did an event with the DFM, the Dubai Financial Markets people in November last year, actually. Massively well attended from our membership, lots of questions, lots of follow-up. We'll do another event with them in the next couple of months. So yeah, what does that actually mean? We want to continue to grow the membership both broadly and geographically. It may change the way we run our events, because we try and run, well, we do run 80% of our events in person, getting back to that whole, I want to chat with you about what's on your radar type conversation. But obviously, on a practical level, as we branch out into some of these other places, webinars and those virtual events will become more appropriate for that side of the business. So we've got to be careful how we manage that, and we don't lose that community feel that we've built up, and Sally's been pushing for many years now.
Right. Well, let's finish on something fun. What's your favorite? It's something we always ask. So, favorite book about finance and trading, and favorite movie about finance and trading.
Okay.
There are so many great ones.
There is. Like, I'm going to connect them both into personal experience, right? So the book is Flash Boys, and I tell you why. And it's half a good story, half a bad story, right? Because this is when I was HSBC. With HSBC, we're never going to be leading edge. We're always kind of in middle of the pack with this stuff. So we created our own dark pool within Asia and Europe, and that was just about a year before the whole thing came out, and the regulators were all over it, all stuff like that. And I had to go and do a presentation to the board explaining why we had dark pools in HSBC. And I knew, without any disrespect to the people I was presenting to, they really didn't have any idea what it was, to be honest. So I went out and bought 12 copies of Flash Boys and put it on each one of their desks on the trading floor prior to the meeting, and asked them to read that. And in fairness, some of them had, and when I got there, they kind of understood why we had it. If I hadn't done that, then they'd just killed me on because they're so conservative. Why are we getting all these phone calls about our dark pool? Why are we running a dark pool, etc.? So Flash Boys kind of saved my bacon a little bit, I have to say, because his explanation in there of the whole HFT business was really very good, actually.
He's brilliant, though. I mean, Michael Lewis can explain anything,
I know.
anything to anyone, and he tells a story. He tells a story really, really
Exactly.
well.
Exactly.
I'm actually currently reading the SBF one at the moment.
Okay. Okay.
A new type of tycoon. I'm about 2 chapters from the end. I know how it ends, but it's a good read. And movie, I'm sure I can guess what.
Well, yes and no. So, no, movie is Bonfires of the Vanities, actually, and again,
Oh, okay.
The first job I got in the training pool was at Salomon Brothers. Now slightly after the movie, but not that long after, and it really, Salomon Brothers was an amazing place, innovation wise, technology wise. They were the first people on the training floor. You remember the massive, great big Sun workstations they had, which were just unbelievable, and they're all across the training floor. The floor down in Victoria, where they used to do loads of adverts along the balcony, along the top, down onto the trading floor, and that was it. And every time you went to New York on business with these guys, all they ever talked about was the Bond boys and how they were doing stuff. Now the book itself, the story, obviously, is a bit of a crash and burn.
Masters of the Universe, the original
Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, that's Tom Wolfe.
A guy I knew had hired me and brought me onto the trading floor, and I literally couldn't be more excited around that time. So that one stuck with me. Not that I say I wouldn't recommend the story as anyone's life, whatever. But it was good. It was good. And the only thing with those big sun workstations, come like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that 24 was so hot because they gave off so much heat. And when they moved, they left Victoria and we moved down to Canary Wharf, which is a shame, but anyway, they did. And they took it all out. I mean, the cabling and all that stuff beneath it was unreal. But it was also the first building in the sort of city, certainly, whereby 2 of the traders set up a little coffee shop out in the foyer. And then was like, what are these guys doing? They're crazy, right? In the end, Salomon's bought it back off them for goodness knows what, because like the whole world was just coming out and training floor and getting coffee from these guys. And now everywhere you go, they've got little coffee places outside. So yeah, no, I loved working at Salomon's, and the book is not my favourite book, if I'm honest, or my favourite film, but it does have a meaning to me, that's for sure.
I think a lot of people are like that. I think a lot of finance books and a lot of finance films have either inspired them to get into the industry.
Yes.
Or everybody in the industry has a sort of loose connection to a book or a movie, and you're like, oh, that's where I used to work. That's my old boss.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's frightening when your old boss turns up in a book as well. That's
it is a bit, yes.
That's really worrying. All right, Gavin. Well, look, thank you very much. Thank you very much for talking to us, telling us a little bit more about the Broker Club. I'm looking forward to the conference, and hopefully we'll catch up in person soon.
Very much so. Richard, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.